Krishna Krishna Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Bhakti Nahamane
Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine
Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Veshatarine
Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita
Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Let's all say Namah Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So, who would like to join?
Good to give me. You see.
Hare Krishna, everybody. I'm sorry I don't speak French. Because there's no time for us to do a stop-and-go translation either. I have a script and slides. So the good news is it's being recorded. So later on, maybe it can be subtitled or something. Anyway, yeah, here's what we do. It's a 10-lesson journey. We're going to do 2 lessons a day. We have, Bhagavatam class time now, so we're going to go 7:45. We're going to go to 9:15, and a few people are going to be sneaking around for breakfast, but Prabhu assures me that there'll be enough for you, so don't worry that your attendance in the seminar will cheat you of breakfast. Usually when prasad is served, that's when the seminar ends, but anyway, it's a 90-minute presentation. And I divided the lessons into 3 sections. So the first 3 lessons, like now and this evening, we're going to go 5 to 6:30 when Gaur Arti will end the lesson. This lesson is called the Spiritual Masters, plural. And the first 3 lessons we deepen our relationship with Prabhupada. It's called Sambandha. And then the next 4 lessons, 4 through 7, we deepen our commitment to his mission, Abhideya. And then the last 3 lessons, we deepen our love for Prabhupada, Prayojana. And so basically it's a narrative. I read and I make some comments and then I move the slides. And then you're going to have questions. I'm going to say things that you're going to wonder about. Is this true? Or you might want to make a comment to add some color or enrich what I'm saying. But just save it until the end. And I hope we can have a robust Q&A starting somewhere between 9:15 and 9. And then maybe there won't be enough time to answer all the questions, but I'm here, for 5 days doing this. So you can always come. I'm staying in Maharaja's room upstairs, so we can, set a time. Or if you're late, if you're a lady, you can bring a friend, or we can meet down here, or whatever the etiquette is. Okay, so. And then I have, because I'm doing a lot of reading and commenting, I have you folks read the slides. So let's start off. Where's the mic for the, here, did you run it yet? Here, just run it out. Yeah. I think Rasikananda Prabhu is, I'm going to draft him to be our mic runner when we do have a Q&A. But also when you read the slides, different people can read the slides too. Because I do a lot of talking, so it's kind of boring if you're always hearing my voice. All right, Rasikananda Prabhu, why don't you just read the first slide?
Srila Prabhupada, our founder Acarya, celebrating Srila Prabhupada's unique transcendental position in ISKCON, as well as every follower's foundational relationship with him.
And there, in the title, above the picture, and in the subtitle, below the picture, we have the main aim of the whole series. Prabhupada is our founder Acharya. He's not just the guru of 4,780 people he initiated in the 60s and 70s, but he's for all time, as long as there's an ISKCON. Prabhupada's our preeminent Shiksha Guru. And then below, celebrating Srila Prabhupada's unique transcendental position in ISKCON. Like now, since Prabhupada's disappearance, 47 years ago now, it's a multiple guru culture. When Prabhupada was walking among us, he was the only guru, right? But he wasn't just a guru. Well, he was a guru of gurus, but we didn't really realize that so much. So, in ISKCON today, we have many Guru Devs, many Guru Maharajas, and you all have them, right? But there's only one Prabhupada. There's only one founder Acharya. Okay, so let's go on. Alright. I put this photo up because this is very special to me, because it's Prabhupada explaining the meaning of Vyasa Puja in New Vrindavan in 1972 to hundreds of devotees and many, many VIP guests, politicians, journalists, media people, yeah. So here's the story. Every lesson is a story. The year is, and I was sitting right, like if, say this is the seat that you see Prabhupada sitting on. I was sitting right about where Rasikananda Prabhu is, that close, at that angle. The year is 1972. In New Vrindavan, USA, it is Srila Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja Day. As the sun climbs to the meridian, high noon, the thick mist shrouding the West Virginia foothills gives way to a spotless blue. Inside it, and we have to have a positive alternative for the little ones. So is there a coloring book or something she can do? She's going to be bored. I mean, I'd be bored too if I were her age. With seminars. Yeah, give her some higher taste. What's her name? Sangeeta? Sangeeta we'll see in maybe 10 years. Okay? A bientôt. Inside a hilltop pavilion, you see where Prabhupada is sitting, he's on the top of the hill in New Vrindavan. And the devotees have erected a pavilion, like a metal pandal. Inside a hilltop pavilion, hundreds of guests and devotees, politicians, journalists, and academics among them, have gathered to observe the 76th anniversary of Prabhupada's birth. It is to the guests especially that Prabhupada directs his address. Here's an excerpt from what Prabhupada actually said. And you can actually go on YouTube and type in 1972 Vyasa Puja address, New Vrindavan, Prabhupada, and you can hear the address. It's still there. So here's what he said. Oops. Okay, who would like to read? Don't be shy. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, of course, those who are my students, they know what is this ceremony. Those who are visitors, for their information, I may inform you something about this ceremony.
Okay, I may something about this ceremony. Go ahead.
Otherwise, it may be misunderstood. An outsider may see it that why a person is being worshipped by God. There may be some doubt.
There may be some doubt. Doubt indeed. The 1960s and 70s have seen a spike in the number of opportunistic gurus coming to the West, streamlining Vedic revelation to suit modern tastes and reaping the profits. To establish trust, Prabhupada begins to demystify the guru by connecting him to other gurus in parampara. Okay. A disciplic succession of authentic spiritual masters, descending from Lord Krishna himself, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The demystification continues. Next reader, please.
On the top of the mango tree, there is a very ripened fruit, and that fruit has to be tasted. So if I drop the fruit from up, it will be lost. Therefore, it's handed over after one, then it comes down. So all Vedic process of knowledge is taken from the authority, and it comes down through disciplic succession.
The A word, right? Authority. People don't like authority. Like in France. Egalité. We're all the same, Prabhu. Fraternité. Well aware of modern aversion to authority, Prabhupada then compares the guru to that venerable American pedestrian, the mailman. Here we go. Okay, who would like to read? Yeah. If you can read, can you read English well?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
No seat.
That's it. Oh, it's not there? Oops, sorry. Oh, you're right.
Just like a post peon comes and delivers you, say $100. So he's not delivering that $100. Your friend has sent you $100, and his business is to hand over that $100 as it is, without any change, without taking $1 from it, no, or adding. No addition, no subtraction. His honesty, his perfection is that he delivers you that $100 which is sent by your friend. He may be imperfect in so many other ways, but when he does his business perfectly, he is perfect. Similarly, we receive perfect knowledge from Krishna through the agency of spiritual master.
Again, while you're hearing this, make a mental note or a digital note or write something for the question and answer period, because that's when you get to ask questions and make comments. Okay, good. So the next section I call Guru is one, Gurus are different. The Guru as God's mailman. Prabhupada said they're post-peon, but in America we say the mailman. What do you say in French? Facteur. The Guru is God's mailman, down to earth, yet out of this world. In this sense, all genuine Gurus are one, because they're all delivering the same message, the message of Krishna. Those Vyasa Puja guests who later read Prabhupada's teachings will learn how all genuine Gurus also differ. Oh, there's Prabhupada there. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. In the very first text of the Sri Chaitanya Chaitamrita, that's Kaviraj Goswami, and oh, you can see him here. There he is. Yeah, writing CC. The definitive biography of Lord Krishna's golden avatar, Lord Chaitanya, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami begins by offering his respectful obeisances unto his many spiritual masters. Okay, who would like to read? Okay.
I offer my respectful obeisances unto the spiritual masters, the devotees of the Lord's incarnations, his plenary portions, his energies, and the primeval Lord himself, Sri Krishna Chaitanya. This is from Chaitanya Charitamrita Adilila 1:1.
Okay, keep going.
He, Kaviraj Goswami, uses the plural here to indicate the disciplic succession. He offers obeisances not to his own spiritual master alone, but to the whole parampara, the chain of disciplic succession, beginning with Lord Krishna himself.
Mm-hmm.
This is from the Chaitanya Charitamrita introduction.
Yeah, you don't need to read the references, but who is? I mean, he's not offering obeisances simply to his Diksha Guru, as exalted as he is. Who is Kaviraj Goswami's Diksha Guru? Not Siksha Gurus, but Diksha. At the end of every chapter, he offers obeisances to his Shiksha Gurus. No. It's somebody, I'll give you a hint, it's somebody who's not even a Jiva, Tattva. Yeah, Nityananda Prabhu. I mean, he's of the Godhead, but he says Vande Gurun. He's offering his respects to plural, to all his spiritual masters. Later in the CC's first chapter, text 35, Kaviraj Goswami offers his respects to, quote, my initiating spiritual master and all my instructing spiritual masters. Prabhupada comments. Okay, there's Prabhupada there. And who's the next reader? Oh, it's Devarshi, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, there you go.
A devotee must have only one initiated. A devotee must have only one initiated spiritual master, because in the scripture, acceptance of more than one is always forbidden. There is no limit, however, to the number of instructed spiritual masters one may accept. Generally, a spiritual master who constantly instructs a disciple in spiritual science becomes his initiated spiritual master later on.
Mm-hmm. So, remember that last sentence. Generally, a spiritual master who constantly instructs a disciple in spiritual science becomes his initiating spiritual master later on, unquote. That last sentence indicates the natural, normative, guru-disciple relationship sustainable over time. Although Prabhupada was uniquely empowered to spread Krishna consciousness worldwide within a few years, it is worth noting that he entrusted the thousands of disciples he was initiating to the care of his local leaders and senior devotees, his budding, instructing gurus. I remember that happened to me when I wrote one letter to Srila Prabhupada after he initiated me. And then he answered the question I had. And then he said, you may take further instruction from Kirtanananda Maharaj regarding these matters, because I was living in New Vrindavan and he was the leader at the time. So he was always directing us to the older devotees who weren't so old at that time. I mean, an older devotee was someone who was in the movement for 2 or 3 years, you know. And if you had just joined, ask the older devotee. Okay. Now, decades on, to glimpse how his movement's guru-disciple culture can become more local and sustainable, the way he himself describes it, let's continue to examine Prabhupada's presentation of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita's foundational first chapter, the Spiritual Masters. What Prabhupada gives us here and in his purports, and what Kaviraj Goswami gives us in his verses, is like a little mini guided tour of Guru Tattva. I mean, Guru Tattva is a vast subject, but they're presenting it in a very succinct and concise way in the first chapter of CC. So the next section is called what's more about initiating and instructing gurus. In the years since Prabhupada's passing, the spotlight on the initiating spiritual master may have led members of his movement to believe that to initiate disciples requires more qualification than to instruct them. There's Prabhupada, I think he's at the manor, because there's Dhananjaya Prabhu, Satsvut Maharaj. Yeah. In his comments, so let me read that last sentence again. In the years since Prabhupada's passing, the spotlight on the initiating spiritual master may have led members of his movement to believe that to initiate disciples requires more qualification than to instruct them. In his comments to text 34, Prabhupada disagrees. Reader?
The initiating and instructing spiritual master are equal and identical manifestation of Krishna, although they have different dealings.
And here's the next part, read that.
There is no difference between the shelter-giving Supreme Lord and the initiating and instructing spiritual master. If one foolishly discriminates between them, he commits an offense in discharge of devotional service.
Good. Okay. Yeah. So categorically, Shiksha and Diksha are the same. Of course, the potential to have many instructing gurus, like Kaviraj Goswami says at one point in that first chapter, I have one initiating spiritual master, that's Lord Nityananda, but I can have unlimited instructing spiritual masters. Of course, but here's what I say as a balance to that. Of course, the potential to have many instructing gurus does not cancel the requirement to accept initiation from a singular guru. In the Nectar of Devotion, chapter 6, quote, How to Discharge Devotional Service, Prabhupada identifies the first two principles of devotional service as 1. Accepting the shelter of the lotus feet of a bona fide spiritual master, and 2. Becoming initiated by the spiritual master and learning how to discharge devotional service from him. So on one hand, it's a kind of formality when you take initiation, because it's just formally recognizing what's already happened. Your heart is changing. Like I came in 1970 July, and then a year later, in July 71, the leader in the community said, you are ready for initiation. So, and the initiation ceremony, it was actually in Detroit, even though New Vrindavan was where I was living, because Prabhupada wasn't stopping in Detroit, that tour, or in New Vrindavan. So we made the 6-hour drive to Detroit. And it's very powerful when you go through the initiation ceremony. It's a samskar. It makes a deep spiritual impression before the deities, before the sacred fire, before the Vaishnavas. You're making vows. The spiritual master is assigning you a das name, das or dasi. And it's no small thing. In Prabhupada's movement today, initiating gurus may act like parents, and instructing gurus like well-wishing relatives. It's like we have our fathers and mothers, and then we also have our uncles and aunties, right? Their relative influence, however, depends on how those relationships develop over time. Like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he was initiated by who? Anybody know? Bipin Bihari Goswami. But over time, he became a little distant from him. And he took shelter of Jagannath Das Babaji, who became his main instructing guru. Our parents are always our parents, yet sometimes we become closer with our relatives, especially if our parents are distant. Like I was telling Parikshit Prabhu on the way down that when my friend Krishna Kshetra Brahmachari at the time, before he took sannyas, he was initiating as a brahmachari too. And I said, Prabhu, when you initiate, what do you tell them? How do you present yourself in relationship to Srila Prabhupada? He said, well, I make it clear. I'm their initiating spiritual master. Prabhupada's the foundational guru. He's the founder of Acarya. And I strongly encourage them, wherever they are in the world, to develop healthy shiksha relationships with advanced devotees. Because he says, I'm an academic, and I'm very often unavailable because I'm busy with presenting this and that, and teaching this and that, and you might not even get an email from me for a while. So wherever you are, you might have questions, and they're living where you're living. They're observing you. They see your struggles. They see your challenges. So develop healthy, strong shiksha relationships with them so you can be nourished. And I said, boy, that's great. That's great. You have this non-possessive attitude toward your disciples. That's a real guru. We're going to see at the end of this seminar the attitude that Prabhupada presented in Vrindavan and Sevakunj at the Radha Damodar temple, how a spiritual master thinks about himself in relationship to his disciples. But that's a little hint. That's going to come much later. So our parents are always our parents, but yet sometimes we become closer with our relatives, especially if our parents are distant. Nonetheless, if all of them, Shiksha and Diksha gurus, relatives, parents, if all are well-wishers, serving cooperatively within the founder Acharya's mission, harmony and spiritual progress prevail. Because the founder Acharya, Guru and Krishna are the center. Nobody's getting in the way of their connection to the parampara. Everybody's acting in a very transparent way. Okay, so here we go. So the next section I call the power of commitment. Heavy with spiritual knowledge, all genuine gurus are teachers. At the same time, their impact on our lives varies according to the depth of their commitment to us. Continuing his commentary to text 34, Prabhupada writes, okay, you like to read, Prabhu? No? Okay. Will it reach? Yeah. Yeah, we'll get you there. Okay, there you go.
Gurun is plural in number because anyone who gives spiritual instructions based on the real scriptures is accepted as a spiritual master. Also, others give help in showing the way to beginners. The Guru who first initiated one with the Mahamantra is to be known as the initiator, and the saints who give instructions for progressive advancement in Krishna consciousness are called instructing spiritual masters.
Thank you. So notice the progressive commitment there. From introducing, like who was Prabhupada's introducer guru? Anybody remember from the Lamrita?
His father.
Well, that's he didn't, but his father did not introduce him to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta in the writing mission.
Yes,
His friend, Narendranath Mulak, Naren. But Naren never joined the mission. He just wanted Abhai's opinion on the sadhu, the guru, that everybody thought was great. But Prabhupada told us, somehow or other I was always the leader of my group, so they were withholding their opinion until they heard my opinion. So Prabhupada, the story, was skeptical because his father, Gaur Mohan Dey, was always hosting sadhus at his house, but most of them were so-called sadhus, they weren't real sadhus. They were just dressing as sadhus, and Prabhupada said they were begging japatis. They weren't giving spiritual knowledge. So Prabhupada had seen he was fed up with so-called sadhus, so he wasn't inclined to go. I've seen so many sadhus, but then Prabhupada told us, but my friend dragged me. He dragged me to this Altadanga rooftop. And so let's see. So Naren didn't join the mission, but Prabhupada was so impressed by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. When they were leaving, Naren said, so what did you think of I? Oh, he's wonderful. Now I can see that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission is in good hands. This is a real sadhu. So notice the progressive commitment from introducing to initiating to instructing. Whoever instructs us the most is naturally more influential in our lives. As we noted above, quote, generally a spiritual master who constantly instructs a disciple in spiritual science becomes his initiating spiritual master later on, unquote. Now generally means historically. That's the natural thing, like in village India, from antiquity, people hear from a sadhu, there's a sadhu in the village, and they get inspired, and then if the person's sincere, is willing to follow the disciplines of bhakti, the sadhu will bring him to the next level, you know, bhajana kriya, initiate, and so that's generally how it worked. Even if the guru doesn't say, so we're talking about instructing now. So, because generally a spiritual master who constantly instructs a disciple in spiritual science becomes an initiating spiritual master later on, unquote. Even if the guru doesn't say a word, the guru is always teaching, especially by example, the most powerful teacher. Example is better than precept, Prabhupada would say. And we say, and actions speak louder than words. You have a saying like that in French? Actions speak louder than words. What does it sound like in French?
L'action parle plus fort que les mots.
Yeah, do as I, watch how I do. Not do as I say, not as I do. That's hypocrisy. Once upon a time, my legendary godbrother, the late, great Vishnu Jan Maharaj, whose kirtans you might be familiar with from the internet or whatever. He was in India and in Mayapur, and he said to Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, I would love to go down the Ganga in one of those little boats and then stop in the little villages along the way and distribute prasad and perform Harinam Sankirtan. But then he had a doubt. He said, but I don't speak their language. I don't speak Mangla. I don't speak Bengali. So Prabhupada just laughed. And he said, oh, they don't care what you say. They just want to see how you behave. They want to see the example. They want to see how you're acting. Right? Okay. Next section is called, so you, every one of, this is in quotes, this is a quote from Prabhupada. So you, every one of you, become guru. For the devotees listening to Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja address, their appreciation of his unique position is increasing. So Prabhupada, he was speaking so magnificently on this, makeshift throne you see there in the picture. And we're like at his feet, right? The master at whose feet all masters sit, at the Prabhupada, the feet of Prabhupada. But he was the only example of a guru we knew. Little did we know that he wasn't just a guru. He was a guru of gurus. He's like one in a zillion, Prabhupada. For the devotees listening to Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja address, their appreciation of his unique position is increasing. Seated on a throne-like crimson dais, Prabhupada is a guru of gurus, a master at whose feet all masters sit. Although their commitment to him is as green as their summer surroundings, we have this in English, if somebody's green, that means he's new. Do you have this in French?
Blue.
Blue, you have blue.
Yes.
It's blue.
Yeah.
Okay. Although their commitment to him is as green as their summer surroundings, his commitment to them is timeless, and his ongoing request difficult for most of them to imagine. Become guru. We're like, we're just struggling to follow the regulative principles, fresh from the 60s counterculture. We're trying to just follow, and then we're trying to chant 16 rounds. But he's saying, become guru. We're going, guru? Okay. All right. So, is it up there? All right. Why don't we, Prabhu, can you read English? Okay. Prabhu. Nudge him. Give him a nudge. Can you read English? Yeah? Or this is Bengali. Can you read Bengali? And it means,
instruct everyone to follow the orders of Lord Sri Krishna as they are given in the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. In this way, become a spiritual master and try to liberate everyone in this land.
you know how many times Prabhupada quoted that verse? Wow, hundreds of times. As recorded in the Bhaktivedanta Database in hundreds of lectures, morning walks, room conversations, letters, and public and private events. Prabhupada cited the above verse as a reminder of the Lord's request, become Guru. From the beginning, through the middle, to the end of Prabhupada's global ministry, these reminders to his followers were relentless. Here are two examples. Why don't we give the ladies a... Garangi, can you read? Here, pass the... You drag the cord over there. There you go. Oh, sorry.
I want that all of my spiritual sons and daughters will inherit this title of Bhaktivedanta, so that the family transcendental diploma will continue through the generations. Those possessing the title of Bhaktivedanta will be allowed to initiate disciples. Maybe by 1975, all of my disciples will be allowed to initiate and increase the numbers of the generations. That is my program.
So, you know the context for this quote? This is a famous quote. You could all my boys and girls, they're going to initiate. By 1975, he didn't say he was going to be gone then. By then, he didn't leave till 77. He didn't know, but he said that. The context is that 2 books have just come out. You see, this letter is January 69. 2 books, the first 2 books in ISKCON have come out. Collier and Macmillan published a heavily abridged Bhagavad Gita. A Gita that made me a devotee. It was a purple cover with a black Vishnu silhouette drawn by my god sister Govinda Dasi. And it was heavily abridged. Macmillan was so afraid it wouldn't sell, because Prabhupada's manuscript was like 1,000 pages. So they said, you got to cut it down to 1/3 the size. It must have been so painful for him to do that. But at least it was a start. You know, he knew later on they could print the whole thing. So, okay, but that wasn't even the first book. The first book was Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, which was published by Dinapan, and also there was line drawings in there that also Govinda Dasi and her husband Gaurasundar did. So 2 books, Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, Bhagavad Gita heavily abridged, and Prabhupada is so, just 2 books are out, and he's so, he's ecstatic. He can't contain his ecstasy. And now he's thinking, we're going to have, he mentions Bhaktivedanta. We're going to have Bhakti Shastri, we're going to have Bhaktivedanta, we're going to have Bhakti Sarvabhauma. He's thinking of degree programs. His vision is going off, soaring off into the future. And then his attitude toward the parampara is very expansive. Maybe by 1975, all my disciples who were still recovering from the counterculture, right? People raised on sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and now trying to practice the disciplines of bhakti, are going to be allowed to initiate disciples. That is my program. Here's another one. And this is in a room conversation in Tehran. So that was 69. This is 1975 when Prabhupada visited Treya Rishi and a couple of householder couples in Tehran. Quote, so you, every one of you, can become guru. You may say that I am not interested to become a guru. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, according to Yaridako Tarikaha, right? He says that if you are not interested, that is not very good. You should be interested. You must be guru. That is success of your life. But again, because all we knew was Prabhupada, who was more than a guru, he was the founder of Acarya. Shaktaveshavatar Nitya said, whatever, Mahabhagavat, whatever, title you want to apply. So we couldn't imagine. Okay. What?
Should we wait till the end to ask questions?
Yes,
Okay.
Before you came in. Yes, please make a note of your mental note or whatever. Okay, so the next is called Strictly Follow. You can hold, okay. There you go. And more ladies in the back. How far does that reach? You can come up. You want to read? There you go. Prabhupada just said, all my boys and girls. That doesn't just mean his initiated disciples. Everybody. Tout le monde. Okay. There you go. So we're not there yet. Wait a minute, did I cheat? Yorangi, you want to see? Yeah. I should have let you read that. Anyway, what's done is done. Okay, not yet, Mataji. We're going to go to the next one here. Prabhupada anticipated, this is called strictly follow. So this is how we can become guru. Prabhupada anticipated that some of his leading disciples, out of immaturity, might try to imitate his unique position as Jagat Guru, a universal teacher. So Prabhupada knew, he knew what was going to happen after he disappeared. He knew we weren't mature, even though he was telling us to be guru. But at the same time, his relentless reminders to become genuine gurus indicate a greater concern. So he was more concerned about something else. Listen to this. That in their supreme esteem for their founder Acharya, his followers would not mature to become gurus in their own right. Prabhupada called regular gurus. Sometimes he even said ordinary gurus. Sometimes he even said Manartu gurus. That's different from the founder Acharya. But gurus, nonetheless. He was afraid that we wouldn't mature to become gurus in their own right and shelter others in Lord Chaitanya's mission. How then would Krishna's mercy reach every town and village? That's Chaitanya Bhagavat. That's Vrindavan Das. Viti Viti Achayatanagaradi Gram. How's it going to go to every town village from Luchelamal to Novosibirsk or Santiago, Chile? Or there's zillions of, millions of places all over the world where people are that need to be inspired by the devotees. How then would Krishna's mercy reach every town and village, as the Vedic scriptures had foretold? And how would every sincere aspirant receive the personal care and guidance they would need to make the journey back to Godhead? In his writings, therefore, Prabhupada made it clear that the most important qualification to become a guru was to, quote, strictly follow the instructions of Guru and Krishna. Okay, there you go, Mataji, read that.
A person who is liberated Acharya and Guru cannot commit any mistake. But there are persons who are less qualified or not liberated, but still can act as Guru and Acharya by strictly following the disciplic succession.
Yeah, that's how you become a guru. And it's no small thing to strictly follow. There's millions of casual followers. Prabhupada would quote his Guru Maharaj, what's the use of so many stars? One moon can light up the whole sky, but but Prabhupada, he made so many moons actually. Giriraj Swami wrote that book, Many Moons. Yeah. Okay. And some people say, well, that's just a letter, Prabhu. I only believe what's in Prabhupada's books, which is another nonsense. The letters are very valuable too. But you can compare, Prabhupada said the same thing, and you can check it on your phone. Bhagavatam 4.18.5 purport, same thing. You don't have to be some Mukta Purush, a liberated soul, to be a guru. You have to strictly follow your guru, though. Even out of his humility, Prabhupada would even say to us, I may not be perfect, but because I'm following the perfect, I am perfect. Just like he said, the mailman, he might be disqualified in so many ways, but if he simply delivers the message and doesn't tamper with the message, just delivers the message as it is, that's no small thing to do that. To not put your own desires in the message and to strictly follow. So one need not be a superman or a superwoman to be a regular spiritual master. Liberated or non-liberated, a guru is genuine if he or she, quote, strictly follows the orders of Guru and Krishna. By Prabhupada's reckoning, you know what that is? Calculation, by his reckoning, His movement today, 2024, likely has more local gurus than its own members recognize. There's probably many gurus among us right here. We don't even know it, because we think a guru means somebody, some avatar in the clouds. No. They simply need to be formally approached for guidance and formally encouraged to give it. As Prabhupada told his disciples in Hawaii, we require many millions of gurus, not 100 people. Right? That's about how many people are initiating these days in this kind. We require many millions of gurus. That's Prabhupada lecture in Honolulu, 21st May, 76. Okay, here we go. Here's another angle. Prabhupada's, here it is. Same Vyas Puja address. Alright, let me go back. Pens scribbling. That was before the digital. This is 72. Nobody has notes on iPhone. Nobody's got iPads. Pens scribbling, cameras rolling. His American guests listen to Prabhupada close his Vyasa Puja address. As he looks into their eyes, Prabhupada is concerned that they have correctly heard and understood his message. Okay, who would like to read? Okay, Manaji.
Hare Krishna. So this is the position of the... So this is the position of a spiritual master. Don't misunderstand that. This person is sitting very comfortably and taking all honors and contribution. It is needed just to teach them how to respect the respective representative of God. This is the sum and the subsistence of Vyas Puja. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And thank you, Srila Prabhupada, for caring enough to come and rescue us. Now, before we do the Q&A, wow, it's early. We got lots of time to churn. That's good. I'm going to show you the last slide of every lesson is always what I call learning outcomes. So the tendency is, when we raise our hands during Q&A, is to ask anything and everything about anything and everything. But we don't want to do that. We want to stay focused on the lesson. So here's what I do. Lesson 1, the spiritual masters / learning outcomes. So, let's see. Can you read, Prabhu? I'm looking behind there, Marcy. Right? Yeah. Can you read English, all right? Yeah. Okay, now just give it to him. Okay.
Do you want me to just read that first?
Yeah, just read that.
Lesson 1, the spiritual masters, learning outcomes.
Alright, keep reading.
By now, we should be able to explain how Srila Prabhupada demystified the Guru by connecting him to other Gurus in the Parampara. Explain how Gurus are one and different from each other. Explain why we may misunderstand an initiating spiritual master to be superior to an instructing spiritual master. Explain why Srila Prabhupada wanted all his followers to become gurus. Explain how even non-liberated devotees can act as gurus.
Okay, so when you ask your questions, make your comments, that's the kind of frame of reference that we have for these. So if you have other questions, don't worry, there's 10 lessons in this journey, and I know we're going to, whatever question you have that's not connected with those learning outcomes, we're going to address it, because basically there's only a few points in this series, but we address the points from so many different angles, so your question will come up. Okay, well, Gaurangi we're going to defer to Gaurangi. All right. Oh, before you ask a question, I might as well get this in before. Well, no, I'll wait. After I always do a transition sentence to the next lesson, which will be 5 o'clock today. But yeah, go ahead.
So it's related to the quote, letter to Amsaluta. I want all my spiritual sons and daughters will inherit the title of Bhaktivedanta and be able to initiate. So in 2024, I don't know how many years later.
Wait a minute. We have a side.
Still,
no side conversations competing with please. Thank you. No, they were talking, so I'm just trying to.
No, because where are the women spiritual masters, the Vaishnavis? Because the GBC says, okay, by practice, some people object. I was listening to a class the other day, to an interview of Karakanta Prabhu, who's a senior.
Yeah, Namaras's podcast? On Namaras's podcast, is that what you heard?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know one girl was initiated by Narayani Daji. So, why is it?
Okay, so your question can easily be the first question of another seminar series, VDG, Vaishnavi Diksha Gurus, the history, and blah, blah, blah. You know, I have links. Are you getting old like me? That's why you're leaning in? You're hearing this? Yeah. Or is it my American English? Okay. Okay, so I think to answer a VDG question, because we could easily spend the whole Q&A on this, I'm going to refer you to 2 powerful talks given by my great god sister Vishaka Devi Dasi. And to get those links, you have to email me. Can you email me? Can you send me an email?
She cannot understand words, you know.
The sound is not so good for me, for my ears.
Oh, maybe sometimes if you're too close to the mic, it makes it worse.
No, I know.
Can you hear me better now? Okay. So can you email me? Can you send me an email? Can you send me an email? Read my lips.
Yeah.
Okay. Send me an email, and here's my email. And this goes for all of you because I'm an email guy. And I like to write, and so S-U-R-E, my name is Suresvara, S-U-R-E, S-V-A-R-A, Suresvara, @gmail.com, easy. And, I'm also a slow chanter, so my priority is, finishing my rounds. I don't know if I'll be able to answer your email. Well, this is quick. Anything quick I can do quick. I'm going to send you 2 knockout talks that Vishaka gave, who's very learned, very wise, doesn't like to even talk about men-women issues and VDG and all this stuff. She doesn't even like to do it, but she's forced to when she hears nonsense. So just write me a letter, and I'll just say, okay, Prabhu, where are the links? That's all. And I'll attached. Okay, you'll love it. And these are pretty recent, one was last year, one was this year. One was the fall of 2023, and one was this year, 2024. Okay, now that we've not monopolize the whole session with VDG, but it's a very good question, and you're going to get very good answers.
What does that mean, VDG?
Vaishnavi Diksha Guru. That's a issue. Or people, if they can't even bring themselves to say it, they say FDG, female Diksha Guru. Yes.
Hi Krishna, thank you for your nice seminar so far, Prabhu. A question about I've noticed that in ISKCON, when this came into place, there's a lot of changes, both in terms of technology and the way that the guru-disciple relationship kind of happens is like a little bit different now to maybe how it happened in the past. I'm interested in that.
What's your You have a
Well,
question about
one of the things is generally that you would be as a disciple, you would go and you live with the guru, and there was this
classic Vedic times.
Classic Vedic. That's really what your reflections are on that as the guru's disciple relationship in modern times. And then a sub question to that is it healthy for some of our gurus to have like so many thousands of?
That's a loaded question, isn't it? That's a leading question, of course. So in Prabhupada's time with us, Prabhupada could not even model, he couldn't even show the Vedic example because he had a movement to explode around the world. He traveled 14 times around this poor Mother Bhumi. So, he couldn't even do that. He couldn't even sit. One time he was in New Vrindavan very early in 1969, when the movement was small. And when the movement was very small in the 60s, he could spend a lot of time because there weren't that many places to travel to. There was New York, San Francisco, and Montreal for the first couple of years. Then the devotees went to London, right? That was a big deal. Whoa, London, across the pond. So, but then, especially after he installed Radha London Ishwara, then he started making his world tours. Because then Hamburg, and then back to India, So, so he couldn't stay long. So what did he do? He depended to see it when people were ready for initiation. He couldn't examine them personally because he was traveling. So he depended on his local leaders, who themselves were neophytes. We were all neophytes. But he depended on them to examine people who came into their shelter, into the local temples. And then after a year, usually the standard was a year for Harinam, and then maybe 6 months to a year for second initiation. Did I already tell you that when Prabhupada initiated me? Yeah, I already told you. I asked him a question and then he said, you can take further direction from Kirtanananda Maharaj regarding these matters. Unless you were a temple president or a sannyasi or a GBC, 1970 Prabhupada created the GBC. After in the 70s, people weren't even we were even discouraged from writing Prabhupada. Prabhupada's so busy now, But he wanted to hear from the local leaders and the GBC's zonal leaders to get a feel for how things were going on. Because his main thing was translating. And he was always begging us, especially the GBC, to relieve him of management so he could retire and translate. But we were too needy, we were too neophyte. We never let him. Practically even in his last year when Prabhupada's on his disappearance bed, he's, managing while he's translating. Yeah. So, now, there's social media, it's a very powerful tool, the internet, right? But like anything powerful, it's powerfully used properly and powerfully abused. So that's why we need, good gurus, local gurus, to set us straight if we read something crazy on what I call the internet. Internet, it's the internet or the internet. There's anybody with a laptop can say any damn thing and spread it all over the world on Facebook, Twitter. It's crazy. It's Kali. It's the personality of Kali expanding his influence everywhere, So we have to have a good, strong presence on the internet too, and we need good face-to-face relationships, not just virtual, but real face-to-face too. We need more people serving as serious Shiksha gurus and serious Diksha gurus. It's not a casual thing. Like I told you, Krishna Kshetra and Brahmachari at the time said, I heartily encourage them. to take, I told you this, right? Did I say this already? Yeah. To develop healthy shiksha relationships wherever you are, because I'm not going to be there personally, and they can observe you, they know what you're going through. So please do that. Yeah. And then we can meet, like how often did we meet our spiritual master? Our Diksha Guru Prabhupada he was the only bona fide guru we knew. So once a year, usually, he'd swing by our part of the world. And even though we were taking shiksha from him through his tape ministry and through the books were coming out, it was exciting. But still, Prabhupada knew we were so needy. We needed to see him physically too. We needed Vapu Sangha because we were so attached to him. And sure enough, just when you thought you were at the end of your rope, you hadn't seen him in a long time, and then he'd come to your part of the world, and you'd see him, and you'd be in such anxiety about your problems and your challenges and your whatever's going on, and then Prabhupada would say the magic words, "So, is everything all right?" And everything was all right. Just because Tirti Korvanti Tirtani, wherever Prabhupada walked, it became a place of pilgrimage. He carried Krishna Loka with him. He carried Krishna and everything around. It just became so wonderful, But there was a flip side. It was a double-edged sword. When Prabhupada came to LA in 1976, Los Angeles, it was his last visit to Los Angeles in June. He stayed for 10 days. We didn't know it was his last visit, but it was the last time he came. I was serving at the BBT. I made the indexes to the books. And so I was part of a production line. And I was the indexer. I was the caboose on the train. Caboose, the last car on the train. How do you say in French, the last car? Okay, last. Yeah. Well, now you have these bullet trains. I guess it's different. And the last car was this caboose, this funny-looking car in the old locomotives. Caboose means the last car on the train. So I was the caboose, and they were always waiting for me. Prabhupada would dictate, and he would get the tapes, and then Prajumni would edit he would add the Sanskrit, and then Jai Dwada was the editor, the last editor, and then he would have questions, and he would ask questions of Prabhupada, and the answers would come back, and then Devamrita, my roommate, you know him as Devamrita Swami now. He's American, but he's based in New Zealand. Devamrita Swami. He was the proofreader, and he was living in the same apartment that I was. So when Prabhupada came, we were doing the 7th canto. No, we had finished. We were starting, by June we were on 8th canto. Gajendra Lila, at the beginning. So Prabhupada had been there, for many days in his quarters across the street from the BBT apartments. There's the temple, Prabhupada had his quarters. And Hari Shari was his servant. Yeah. And so after a week, I said to Devamrita, I said, "Hey Devam, Prabhupada's been here a whole week. Isn't it great? I don't know how much longer I can take it." What did that mean? It sounded strange. I found it contradictory. It's so wonderful. Prabhupada being here, we have his association. He was there for that was a long time for him to stay in one place, a whole week. I don't know how much longer I can take it. What do you think I meant?
Because it's so powerful that we cannot bear.
That's right. It's kind of like a hot chutney. Like a pineapple chutney that's spicy. Too hot to bear, too sweet to resist. I mean, I wasn't in Prabhupada's quarters with Hari Shari. He was on the bell, the bell. As soon as he heard the bell, he had to run in 24/7. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. He was the personal servant. So as Prabhupada, he had to hop. Even if he was asleep, he had to go in there. So, I wasn't on the bell. I was just across the street at the BBT. I was doing my service. I was indexing the books. But still, Prabhupada's presence was so powerful that even just him being in the community meant you were obliged, you were forced to live at a level of Krishna consciousness that you weren't used to, where it really was Krishna, Krishna, Krishna 24/7. You know, there was no room for your Maya. There was no time for Maya. Right? And so Devavrata looked at me like, what? What are you talking about? Well, there is a difference between him and me. You know, he wasn't feeling the heat. You know, Prabhupada's like a roaring fire. Here's another metaphor. Fire. You know, unless you became like fire, like Prabhupada, you got burned. So my false ego was getting burned a little bit, you know. So, yeah. So how did I get into that? I was answering a question about, what was your question?
About the relationship between disciple and guru in modern times.
In modern times, yeah. Okay, so in modern times we need more gurus. We need more people being encouraged. It should be coming down. You know, our governing body says, well, yes, we need more gurus, but then how come we're not doing it? Because everybody who is actually qualified but humbly thinks, I'm not qualified, that means you're qualified. That's a qualification to be a guru. It's humility, right? And again, because there's still a remnant of thinking that to be a guru you have to be some avatar or something. No, you don't have to. You can be a regular guru. Yeah. So people should be approached that way, and then people should be know that this is what Prabhupada wants. Yeah, we have to. We're not only, like in French, you have this saying, noblesse oblige.
Oui, noblesse oblige.
Yeah. So to whom much is given, much is expected. We don't just take from Prabhupada, you know, and our gurus, but we have to give it too. As soon as we're given the matchless gift of Krishna consciousness, we have to give it. Yeah, you're going to hear this a lot in lesson 8. Yeah. So I see another hand. Is that okay for now?
There was the other point about, is it healthy to have so many thousand disciples?
Well, of course not. I mean, different gurus have different capacities, but Prabhupada does, when Prabhupada says we want millions of gurus, that means he wants the guru culture in ISKCON, guru-disciple culture, to be local. Yeah, not like we have now where, you know, somebody's, okay, you're ready for initiation. Don't worry, we're going to fly you in a superstar, Prabhu. Now, you've never met this person, and you might not ever see him again, or maybe once a year if you go to Mayapur or Vrindavan or wherever. But we're going to fly him in, and then he's going to go away, and then, no, it's not a problem. Some people do have the capacity. Like Prabhupada personally told Jayapataka Swami, you will have 50,000 disciples. Now he's exceeded that. He's working on close to 80 now. Miraculously. Anyway, we need a guru-disciple culture where we have not a few people initiating zillions, but zillions initiating a few, so they can get the personal care they need. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now we're going to go to Prabhu. I saw him first. Okay.
With or without microphone?
No, you please. This is being recorded, so we need.
Hare Krishna. Was Srila Prabhupada also implying that when all his followers to become gurus, is he not just implying that he wants all of his followers to be good examples, not specifically gurus?
Yeah, that's a guru means. I mean, what's a guru unless he's...
You were kind of differentiating between...
Well, yeah, the Shiksha Diksha, but whatever kind of guru we are, Shiksha or Diksha, Achar, example is more important than Prachar. Example is better than precept, actions speak louder than words. Sometimes, most of the time, Prabhupada would use the word Acharya with a small a, not like big A, founder Acharya, with a small a, interchangeably with Guru. Yeah, we've got to be, that's what it means to strictly follow. Otherwise, how can we, do as I say, not as I do, Prabhu? No, that's called hypocrisy. We don't need that. This is the age of hypocrisy. We don't need to be Kali Yuga, Kali's gurus.
So why the need for that's a senior devotee? I mean, isn't that the same kind of thing?
Why the what?
The differentiation with the junior devotee, senior devotee. I mean, isn't that the same kind of thing as just a person that can give a good example because they're more senior?
Well, no, senior means senior in a lot of ways. By example, by wisdom, by expertise. I mean, a guru is a teacher, basically. One who's banishing the darkness of ignorance. So teachers have to be practicing what they teach. Like the famous story of Gandhi and the sugar, the Gandhi story. A lady approaches Gandhi with her child and she says, "Oh, Gandhiji, could you please tell my son not to eat sweets?" So Gandhi says, "Okay, come back in a couple of weeks." So she comes back in a couple of weeks. "Gandhiji, 2 weeks have passed. Can you tell my son not to eat too many sweets?" Yes. And then he did, he told him. And then she said, "Gandhiji, why did you could have done that 2 weeks ago." And Gandhi said, "Well, first I had to give up sweets." So, for example, when someone's sitting on the seat giving class, we're always enlivened when we hear a class from somebody whose life is a good example, right? It's not, we're inspired not by so many when people know so many fancy things. We're inspired by someone who might not know so many fancy things, but they're so sincere that they practice everything they preach, even if what they preach is very basic. So what we teach is as effective as our example. Yeah, but it's just natural. Junior or senior instructs junior. Like in this, Prabhupada brought this up. This phrase he used, monitor guru. So in Easy Journey to Other Planets, I think it's his purport to text 13. He lists the qualifications to be a genuine disciple, a genuine student of a teacher. And then he says, I think it's item 13, it's one of these points in the purport to mantra, or maybe it was mantra 13. Anyway, he said, and then when the student is sufficiently advanced, then the student can teach the newer student, the younger students. And then that's called monitor guru. Similarly, when the disciples of the guru are sufficiently advanced, then they can take disciples. So, not that they're on the same level as the professor, like the founder Acharya, you might say, Acharya with a big A, but they're acting as representatives of the professor. In the Sri Sampradaya, I'll say that actually it's the next lesson. The Sris and the Madhvas know very well the difference between their founder acharyas, Madhva and Ramanuja respectively, and the gurus that came after them. They even have a shastra describing that. Well, I'll save that for next lesson. It fits right in. Is that okay for now? Okay, so how do we do? Okay, we got till 9:15, or until your belly protests too much.
Question.
Oh.
Yeah, question? Yeah. Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw her. I was thinking.
Sorry, I may have to go. I did not.
Oh right, you were the one. Yeah, that you said to Prabhu, yeah. Yeah, if you have the service that demands you go right now,
Thank you.
we understand. You're the exception to the rule.
Sure.
But that doesn't mean you should all abandon the class. Come on, stay. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you.
Okay, Manaji.
I thought you wanted to ask a question before.
No, he has to go.
Is it working?
No.
No?
Is it working now?
Yes.
Speak. I was very touched by.
Closer. Speak closer.
I was very touched by this. I'm very touched by this subject matter because I'm Prabhupada disciple, but I've seen him once only in '76. So it's true that here in Mayapur I was.
August 76?
Yes.
I know. Krishna Balaram. Go ahead.
And I am still coming from Geneva, and my temple president was and is still Guru Gauranga Das.
Ah.
And of course, just for the little story, as his name is Guru Gauranga, I thought he was a guru. Just to illustrate a little bit.
Were you the lady who was working for the TV station?
No.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. In Geneva, but go ahead.
There is a TV station.
There's a whole, anyway, I'll tell you later.
Geneva? Okay. And so I took a long time to really understand Srila Prabhupada. In fact, in those times, 75, on the Vyasa-san, there was just a very tiny picture like this, with Prabhupada with his finger on the top. And I think it was the very first years of the Guru Puja ceremony.
That was 74.
Okay.
When Prabhupada introduced Guru Puja. Well, maybe the first year where you were. Yeah.
Yeah, it was still fresh.
Yeah, he introduced it in Bombay, but by then you might have not got to your place till 75. Go ahead.
Anyway, so I took a long time in my spiritual life to really understand his greatness. And even when, of course, I knew he was the one who wrote all the books and from whom all this knowledge was coming, but it was not something I could relate. The personality of Prabhupada I couldn't relate. And during the time, I really realized I really enjoy all the documentaries which were prepared about him, and one which is related to what you said about his eagerness to make all of us become gurus. There is a beautiful one in black and white. I think it's dated 68. Once he was coming back, all the devotees were greeting him in the airport, at the airport. And he was saying, he was glowing, he was smiling so much with a huge garland, I think gardenia or something, huge. And he was in his garland and he was saying, I thank you, all of you who came to me, and thanks to you, the whole parampara is growing. So it's incredible when you think maybe 2 years of the movement, or maybe one, I don't remember. And he was saying that thanks to all these devotees around him, the few devotees, the parampara was going on.
That's Prabhupada. He was so transparent. He was always giving credit to his Guru Maharaj, to Lord Chaitanya, or even us, who were just wet behind the ears. He would even call us his parents sometimes. You were taking such good care of me, better than my own parents. That's the genuine guru, genuine spiritual master. He's so, all the good qualities, 26 qualities. I think we missed Devarshi. Is that okay?
Yes.
Thank you. These lessons get better too, so I hope you come again.
Hare Krishna. Okay. Yes, thank you very much, Prabhu. So when you were quoting some Srila Prabhupada saying that generally the Shiksha Guru can become a Diksha Guru. So what is the situation of ISKCON nowadays? Do we have some, can say, official Shiksha Guru? organize that? Or is it just a personal matter?
Okay, I should just answer you first of all by saying Guru Tattva, how to apply Guru Tattva in ISKCON is not a settled matter. At the highest levels of management, people disagree. It's an ongoing discussion. The best discussion I've heard on Guru Tattva so far just happened last month when His Holiness Bhanu Swami gave a class at the Manor. Were you there?
I was there. Yeah.
Okay. So it's all about Shiksha and Diksha and Prabhupada's position as preeminent Shiksha Guru. Do I have a link to that? I think I do.
On the manor site, there are the classes of.
On the Manor site. Okay, so if you go to the Manor website, you can get it.
They're on the YouTube.
It's on YouTube. Okay. So it's just, I mean, it's August 6th, so it's only about 5 weeks old.
Somebody contacts me, I can give them that.
Okay, Jason you have a link or
whatever? I can find out.
Okay, or if you know the Manor web address. Yeah, it's really good. Yeah. I'll just tell you, I'll just give you some preliminary information about the class. It's only about an hour and a half.
About an hour.
It's an evening class with the Manor. So Maharaj is talking about what previous acharyas say. He's talking about what Prabhupada said and what he wrote. And I mean, you can make a case just from Prabhupada's own written and spoken body about which is more important, Shiksha or Diksha, or first or second initiation. It's paradoxical. But I think Devarshi just hit the nail on the head when he talked about a personal matter, because when I was doing the basic research for this Acharya series, it was in 2011, I was living in Hawaii, and I was starting to, I knew I had to do something for a team of devotees in Mayapur. It was called, for the GBC actually, it was called Srila Prabhupada's Position Committee. And Bhakti True Swami was the chair. And so he really encouraged me, because that was a big theme of his, the Prabhupada's position. So at that point, in the spring of 2011, my late great godbrother Gopi Paranadana Prabhu, who gave us Srila Bhagavatamrita, authorized edition. He was the premier Sanskrit and Bengali scholar in the movement at the time. Probably, I don't know of anybody who's at his level. Anyway, I was writing him questions, because I had questions as I was doing the research for the founder Acharya, and he very generously had an email address. He let people write him. It was called Q&A@pamho.net. And he knew that he was in a very lucky position, that he had a lot of access to Gaudiya Vaishnava literature, and he was very faithful to Prabhupada. He always saw everything he read and heard through the lens of Prabhupada's Vani, not the other way around. And so I said, hey Gopi, because he was in the BBT days, and Prabhupada was with us. He was the Sanskrit editor. He was the last one, and so we were friends. And I said, hey Gopi, I'm doing this founder Acharya research, and I'm trying to understand who's the deliverer here. Who's really the deliverer? I mean, is it the Diksha Guru? Is it the preeminent Shiksha Guru? Is it the founder Acharya? I mean, Krishna says in the Gita, Aham tvam sarva papebhyo, I will deliver you from all So he was on a train in China when he got my email. And he said, well, Suresvara Prabhu, I don't have all my references on my computer, but I know from studying Sri Jiva Goswami's Sandarbhas that if I tried to pin Jiva down to one person, I could not do it. Because you're right, it's Krishna. Krishna's the deliverer, but he delivers us through so many agents. Through the whole Guru Parampara. Yeah, through previous Acaryas and present Shiksha Gurus and current Diksha Gurus, and the founder Acharya is a pivotal role, key role. So, and then he quoted Sampradaya Vihinaye Mantras Te Nishpala Mata, which is from the Padma Purana, which means that unless one receives one's mantra, mantras te nishpala. We don't even chanting Hare Krishna. If we don't get that from a bona fide spiritual master in parampara, not a self-styled, self-proclaimed guru, but somebody who's coming in disciplic succession, going back to Krishna. Unless we get the Maha mantra, nishpala, we won't get the fruit. We won't get the result of it. Or as Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, Namakara Nahir Hoy, Namakara, I forgot the thing now. Nama Nahi Hoy, which means merely to mouth the letters of the Maha Mantra does not mean one is actually chanting the Maha Mantra. It's an internal thing. Of course, we're all afflicted with that. You know, we all chant externally and casually and maybe inattentively and all that. But yeah, so Gopi Pranadana said that. It's really a personal thing. It's a personal relationship with Krishna, and Krishna makes so many personal arrangements depending on the people. Like you probably know disciples of different gurus who have very different relationships with their guru. Like, I know an example of two lady disciples of Radhanath Maharaj. Now, one lady disciple, before she took initiation from Radhanath Maharaj, she was reading Prabhupada's books for 17 years. You think you took them, right? Or didn't realize his greatness of it. And why she waited that long, that's another story. And I hope I get to tell the story, it's really good. But so she knew already that Prabhupada was her foundational spiritual master, her preeminent Shiksha Guru. She knew that, right? Now, I know another disciple of Radhanath Maharaj who never even heard of Prabhupada because she was a student at Ohio State University, and Radhanath Swami used to go to Columbus, Ohio, where there was a center, a satellite in New Vrindavan. And so she was just a student, you know. And then Prabhupada told her about Prabhupada. Or Radhanath Maharaj told her about Prabhupada. So she, you know, he became her Bhargava Pradarshaka Guru, and then eventually her Diksha Guru, you know. So there's different relationships with different people according to their histories and according to the way Krishna brought them in. There's as many, you know, it's very personal. Krishna knows how to reel us in, back to him. He knows that. And it's as many ways as there are fallen souls. Within certain guidelines, you know, within the Parampara, Guru Sadhu Shastra. But, yeah. Okay, we're approaching breakfast, and my stomach is giving me the... So if you come, I'm going to read the transition to tonight's lesson at 5 o'clock, and here's how it looks. All Vaishnava Guru-disciple relationships thrive under the shelter of the founder Acharya, the foundational spiritual master of a disciplic branch. In the next lesson, we'll examine the origin, history, and characteristics of the founder Acharya principle, with a focus on our Gaudiya Vaishnava line. So, yeah, actually, the first 6 lessons of this seminar, they're kind of like history lessons. So please come. It gets better and better, and you can ask. You'll be asking deeper and deeper questions as we go. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai.